Okay, we are now recording. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you happen to be, and welcome to our 2019 gatool Game Announcer Tool training session. My name is James Lockman, and I am the author of the gatool. If you are making coffee, it might be good to stop making coffee or mute your microphone. All right, pretty cool. So let me get straight to it. You should be seeing a Chrome window here, and it is the help page for gatool. We try to keep this thing up to date as things change. There have been a number of changes over the last, really since the close of last season, and I try to stay on top of it. It's hard when we're going as agilely fast as we go. So I apologize if this is out of date for some screens, but for the most part it should be fully functional. The most recent changes we made are over here on cheat sheet, so go take a look at that. This is, I know that Blair had distributed this to the group through the website that is in your web. On the left there's useful links over there, and it's in there. So this thing will, you can go and get the PDF from there. You can print it out, have it in hand. I know that I like to do that. It tells you about scoring. It tells you about where things are on the screen, which is helpful as you're looking at the screen. Also has some language that you can use. Pete Moore, I don't know if he's on the call right now, but Pete does a great job of digging in deep to the week 0 events and thinking really hard about what will work, what won't work in terms of words that we can use. So here's a kind of a jump start on that from Pete, and Pete will join us next week for Blair's meeting after week 1. So I know he has a meeting scheduled for the MCs and the GAs next week. So do attend that if you can and get some of that insight from Pete and the rest of the folks who are participating in week 1. Let's jump into gatool. Now, along the way, if you have questions, feel free to ask them. I'm watching the chat over there, which is great. And if you want to join on the phone, you can do that as well. The dial-in information is available under the telephone. So if you click the telephone at the top of the screen and say connect my audio, it will give you instructions on how to do that if you want to do that. So when you log in, you're going to www.gatool.org. You will be presented with a login screen. You all have received, you should have received anyway, if you got the email, you've received an account there. You'll need to set a password if you have not done that. That's done through Auth0. Once you've done that, then you'll be able to log in here. And it looks like, based on our metrics, we've got hundreds of people who have logged in the last few weeks, so that's good news. When gatool loads, I'm going to put it into a default state by using this shiny red button called Reset Local Storage, and this button here will erase all of the things that gatool has collected. Thankfully, it will remember a lot of stuff as you go along, so if you close your browser and then come back in, then it will kind of reset itself to the state that you were in last. That can be helpful if you lose browser connection, or if you put it away and you come back in the morning and you want to pick up where you left off. So we'll just do that. On the left of the screen, we have, well, across the top of the screen, we have a number of buttons, and these buttons will take us through various portions of an event. We start out in setup, and we want to pick an event. By default, it's looking into the future, which makes sense. So if I tap on this right here, these are all future events, but it can be very hard to find the ones you want. So we've included some filters here. So if you tap on where it says future events, you can pick by competition week. You can also pick by Houston or Detroit champs. There's a number of events that happen there. You can also filter by district if you happen to be in a district. So if I wanted to look at, for instance, week 3 events in the district formerly known as MAR, then we would pick those, and now here's my 2 events in the FMA district. Got it? Pretty easy to use. And then now that you've made those selections, they will stay selected. If you want to pick another week as you move along, then you'll need to disable that week and enable the next one. I have not been fancy yet to say, oh, if I pick week 0, I mean I can't have other ones. So you may have to disable and enable in order for it to work. Okay? So we'll pick week 4. We'll stay in MAR for now. And I've got one event, Seneca. So let's load it. You can see you've got a little loading strip that shows up. Right now we don't have any match schedule. We don't have rankings. We don't have any of that stuff, but we do have a team list. We'll go and look at that in a little bit. You can see some information about the event. Loads up here. So when is it? Where is it? How many teams are competing? And then this is the last time we had updates on the event. And we'll see these change as we look at events that have already happened, so you can kind of see what that looks like in real time or near real time as to when we have results from first. On the right, we have a number of controls, and we'll return to these as we go along. When you look at the announce screen, you have sponsors, the list of awards, as well as notes that you may enter for a team that would show up on announce, and also on play-by-play mottos will show up on the play-by-play screen. And you can enable or disable these. A best practice, kind of our first best practice right now, is you will want to disable sponsors after every team has been seen once. That way it frees up some room in that announce screen. So as you go through and you're paying attention as to when you get through announce and then everybody has had their sponsors announced, just turn that off and it will hide that from you, okay? If you don't want to see awards, you can turn it off. If you want to turn the mottos on, we tend to leave this on. This will translate event codes into event names, which are easier to read for most folks. And then this is a default setting. I'm throwing this out to the group right now. By default, it automatically advances to the next match. So the reason we put that in there is because a number of people, when they're working an event with multiple GAs, will leave for an hour, they'll come back, they'll open up their iPad, and then, oh wait, what match am I on? I don't know. If I leave this on, then it will automatically load the event, get the data, and then go straight to the next event that's going to, the next match that's going to run. So that's super helpful, right? But some people find it really annoying. And so I'm just asking, is this a setting that we want to have on by default when we load first, or off that you can have as a choice? I mean, it's obviously a choice, so this is something to think about. People can type in the chat as to their. Bill says off. Bill's always contrarian, though. It can be annoying. Yeah, it can be annoying. It's true. So that we'll keep thinking about that. The next one down is about awards, and awards are one of those contentious items that we have with FIRST. We want to be able to recognize teams for awards that they have received. However, that list of awards can be challenging to manage. So we are fetching awards data from FIRST, directly from FIRST, and we're giving you the option as to how many years from now do you want us to look back. The default is 3. And then which separator should we use for awards? My preference is a line break. So you can choose whatever one you want. The default is currently a double bar. And I forget why we decided that, but it is that's what it is. But I'm going to switch it to line break, and you'll see why in a minute or two. So there's that. Offline mode doesn't do anything, so don't use it. If you turn it on, turn it off. It will do something later. There are other functions here. These maintenance functions, reset local storage we have seen earlier, which will wipe out everything that's saved in your browser and will set it into its kind of untouched state. Over on the right is log out. If you go to log out, it will log you out. It will keep your data, but it will wipe out your login token and will send you back to the login screen. This section is about what we call gatool Cloud. There's actually two ways you can use that, and they can be used in concert. The first is, and this is my normal procedure, the best practices piece, when I load up an event, so I've loaded up this District, the Seneca event, my next step would be to load the team's data from gatool Cloud, and I'll show you why. We'll pause and look at team's data right now. You can see a list of all the teams that are in the event. Currently, there's no ranking because nothing has happened. We know what city they're in. We know their sponsors. We know their organization. And we know the rookie year. And we know, well, sometimes we know the robot name if the teams enter a robot name or if they even have the opportunity to do that this year. I'm not entirely sure. You can see we're getting avatars for those teams that have put in avatars. So we're getting that data now, which is great. That was missing for a while. This list is sortable. So if you want to sort by city, for instance, you can tap on city and it will sort, and it will, go back and forth on that by team name, by sponsors. Well, I don't know why you'd want to do that. But you might want to go by rookie year. This is something that folks will do. So you look at that and see you've got a team that's been potentially playing for 24 years. And I say potential because a lot of teams take time off. Now, no robot name is reported. Could be other things missing with this team. So what I'm going to do is go back and load the team's data from gatool Cloud. When I do that, it will go and fetch the crowd-sourced information about the events at this, about the teams at this event, and it will now load it into my team data. So anything that's green is replaced by somebody in the field. Somebody has talked to this team and has made some changes. Now, we are between week 0 and week 1, right? That means that the green adjustments are probably wrong. They're probably wrong. Well, no, maybe not, because Bill's out there and he does all kinds of pre-work. It's likely, though, that the data is wrong because it was entered last year and stored last year. So if you want to make a change to, say, Robo Raiders, just tap on their team number over here. If you hover, you can see it's a button. Tap on the team number, and now you've got a form you can fill out. And it's going to tell you some things about the team. So from top to bottom, the name of the team. I've got the organization, typically a school, not always. What's the name of the robot? No value in TIMS, and you can see that this is green because it has been overridden. If the team has a motto, type it in there. There's your town and your state. If there's a country, it will add the country. And then this is the one I want to focus on because this is brand new. Years not competing with first. Now, you'll see it says enter the number of years this team has not competed with first. So let's say that this team took 5 years off over its career. We'll enter 5, not the years that it didn't play. Everybody clear on that? It's the number of years they did not play. Oldest team in New Jersey, that's awesome. I've got these sponsors. A lot of times we'll make adjustments to sponsors. That's why it's good to talk to each team. We'll do a pit walk, we call it, where you take the iPad or you take your phone. I go out with my phone, and we'll visit each team, use this tool, and just make changes in my my local GA tool. So we've made a change, right? 5 years that they didn't compete. I now have 3 options. If I say done, then my browser will remember that I made that change. Nobody else will know. If I say save team data to gatool Cloud, then everybody who loads next will get that change. All right? That's what will happen. Let's say I save this update now. Now, if you went and loaded this team, team number 75, you would see, oh, wait, they're in their 19th season now? Even though they started in 1996? Oh, yeah. Well, that's because, why? We entered 5 here. So be careful about this. Make sure that it's accurate information as you are talking to the teams and when you do your pit walk. I'm going to clear that out and save that so that it is proper. Okay? Now, one more caution. See, that's back to normal. We'll pick on superbots here. I encourage you not to make changes to awards there are some formatting fields and functions in here that we are providing. If you have to make changes, don't mess with these functions at the end or with these characters at the end, because they are necessary for formatting later. But if you want to go and change, the name of one of these things, or you can certainly do that, but just be careful that we're going to just be careful. It's easy to break the awards formatting if you do change these. I'll say done because there's no changes to record here. So any questions on the team data editing at this point? I'm looking over here. So does Save G2 Cloud load everything including the team notes? Yes, it does, Eric. City will also show country for international. Yes, it will. Is Auto Advance looking at time or last match? It's looking at the last match posted. That's exactly what it's doing. Yeah, great question, David. Okay. I want to point out a few other things on this screen. The first, it says a minute ago and a few seconds ago. Oh, it just switched to 2 minutes ago. Did you see that? So there's a time indicator that's on these buttons that tells you when you had visited this team last. This is a record-keeping tool to help you know when you visited a team as you're doing a pit walk. If you visit a team, so now I visited Eastern Robotics Vikings, but I do not touch one of these buttons, and I just go back to team data, you'll notice no recent visit. It does not record that I made any touch. So if you visit a team and you're unable to get any data from the team, don't tap one of the buttons at the bottom. Just tap the top, team data, and it will take you right back to the list. You go to the next one in the pit. So this is designed to help you know when you had visited teams as you go along. At the bottom of the screen, reset stored awards to their TIMS values. This is important because if you've been monkeying around with awards, Bill, then you can hit this button and it will set them back to the awards that are coming out of the first API. And then this button will reset your visit times. So if you're starting another day and you want to do a different pit walk or a different event, then you want to hit that button, and that'll just clear out the start time. So there it says 3 minutes ago, 2 minutes ago. If I go and push this button, then you'll see that we're all no recent visit. So that's the team information. Now, there's a couple of ways you can use the gatool Cloud at this point. You can visit a team, record some changes, hit done, and continue to do that through your pit walk. And then when you're finished with that, you can save the team's data to gatool Cloud. What that will do is take all of the information that you have collected and will push that information up into the cloud. What I like to do, this is just me, is if I'm doing my pit walk and I visit a team and I have some information about the team that's new, then I will save that one team right there when I do it. Then I don't have to think about it, it's done. That means that I can walk with my partner. So let's say I'm working with Eric and we are at either end of WPI and we're walking around, then okay, great. So by the time we get to the middle, we know that each of us has made the updates to the teams that we have, from our end of the pit, and we're all done. Then what you can do is each of you load the team's data from gatool Cloud, because what that will do is pick up the missing team data that you don't have. Does that make sense? So definitely doable to work as a group to go and fetch those team information. The last two buttons here, which is save environment and load environment, what it will do is it will gather up all the stuff that's on your device. So anything that's stored on your device, whether or not it's saved to gatool Cloud, and it will push that to the cloud just for you. So that means that you can open up another device, say a laptop or an iPad, whatever, and you can then load from, like, just reset the environment to behave just like it was when you left it on another machine. So it's very common to reset your local storage if things are getting wacky, and then maybe load your environment from gatool Cloud, and it'll just set it back to where you were before you left. But I use it with multiple devices. So I will have a pad, I'll have a computer, a laptop. If you go see Bill Aucoin, he'll have like 18 computers and a watch and all kinds of other things going on. Bill, I know I'm picking on you, but it's because I like you. And you're like the best in the business. Anyway, those two buttons are really helpful for that, for syncing multiple devices. All right, so a couple of comments over there. Update info is also very helpful when you split up. Yes, that's correct. Recommend that pit walks are done with 2 people. I agree with you, Bill, 100%. Makes it so much faster and gives you the option to even check each other's work. So let's go look at an event that's already happened, and we'll pretend that we're viewing an actual event. I'm going to turn off the automatic advance right now, and I've already set that to 3 years for the awards and a line break. So I've made some configurations here, and my browser will remember these settings if I reboot it. So instead of being week 4 Mid-Atlantic, I want to look at week 0 and shut off that. So I should have exactly one event, right? Week 0. So we'll let it load. And now you can see there's more things going on the top, right? A lot more green. Green means good for the most part. Green means, hey, we have a match schedule. Let's go take a look at that. What you will see, now this is a completed event, which means I know when the exact time was that the match started, and I have all of the results for every match in the event. If you're running a week 1 event and you get there the night before and you load up the event, you're going to see no schedule. In the morning, when FMS posts the schedule, so when your scorekeeper posts the schedule, then you will see a schedule here with matches and teams without scores. Over the course of the day, this will populate with data from the FMS system. So the scores will flow in, and the time will replace with the timing will replace the predicted time, like the scheduled time, with the actual time. So be able to see that matches had happened. So in this case, you can see that they had quarterfinals, they went into tiebreakers, and all that. I mean, it's all, they did it all the way that they could test it. So that was the objective here. On this screen, if you want to know more about what happened in a particular event, you can click on the score, and what that will do is pop up details about the specific event. So this is all of the scoring data that we're getting for a particular match, and you can see all of the switches and so on that are coming straight from first is available to you. Whether you need any of this crazy detail, that's up to you, but it is available to you on a match-by-match basis. It does take a moment to go and fetch it, so just be aware that as you're tapping on multiple events, there might be a little bit of a delay. We're not caching all of that information. It's just too much to hold on to as the events are rolling forward. So that's the schedule. Any questions about the schedule? So if a team info is updated from an event in week 3, I'm going back here to this. I want to make sure that I'm seeing the real questions. Is there any latency between save to gatool and reality? Yes. There is a little bit of latency, and that's something that you should be aware of. That will depend on your cloud connection, your Wi-Fi connection. So yes, we try to do it as fast as we can in the background. There's not a lot of data moving around, but it does take some time. Deanna, if a team info is updated for an event in week 3 and the team competes in week 5, will the information from week 3 go to cloud? Oh yes, that's exactly the point. So by the time we get to week 3 or week 4, most teams have been seen by somebody, and that's great. So Week 1 events, you're going to have to do a lot of work. Week 2 events, you'll have to do a little bit less. Week 3 events, you'll have to do a little bit less, and so on. By the time we get to Week 6 and District Champs, shouldn't have to do anything by then, because every team will have been seen by a GA with this tool at some point. That's the idea. Let's see what else we got over there. Yeah. Oh, Bill's answering for me. So yes, thank you, Bill. Cool. Might be a question for Blair, but will GAs have an Ethernet cable for FMS? Ooh. That's a question for Blair, and it's really not even a question for Blair. That's a question for the on-site FTA. That's the question. They're supposed to provide you with an Ethernet wire, and that Ethernet wire is supposed to allow you access to a network that is the same network that the FMS connects to for external communication. You're not going to get onto the same network that the FMS lives on, because that could be really dangerous, right? I think we all understand the risk there. So we're not going to do that. Oh, looks like Bill was answering that. That's right. Yeah, internet. You can get access to internet. They should provide you with one drop for internet access. They should also provide you, if the event has Wi-Fi, with Wi-Fi access. Now, I don't know who's on the line and who's listening, but we don't want you standing up your own Wi-Fi network on 5 gigahertz. So if you do stand up a network, we don't encourage that. Make sure it's a 2.4 gigahertz network, not a 5 gigahertz network, and you'll get that instruction from the FTA, and they'll come sniffing around and find all the networks that they want to shut down. They want to make it as clean as they can in the 5 gigahertz spectrum. All right. Any other questions about match schedule? So again, this is going to populate as it goes along. You can see who won the match, right, and who was in each match as it goes along. Great. We saw team data already. There's team data. We have rankings, and these rankings will populate during the course of the day. So if you've got, 45 teams playing, you'll have 1 through 45 will be listed there. And this is useful because it provides you with the rank points as well as their qualification average. Can be useful as you're, talking up the teams. This data will show up later. As you move through the competition, you'll see it in other places. Also, if you change the team name in the team data, it will show up here. So any changes that you make in team data will be reflected everywhere in the interface that information is shown. So let's get to the business. First, announcing your teams. You can see there's a lot of stuff going on here. I've got my match time on the left, so it has my time, my real time of day, and then when did the match happen. This has a color on it, and the color is green and yellow and red, or green and orange and red, and the coloration is helping us to see how close we are to being on time. So as we are looking to announce a given match, you can get a sense right here as to are we way behind time or not by the color of this box over here. You'll see giant buttons that say previous and next match. This will allow you to cycle through the schedule so you can get to where you want to be in the schedule. But if you want to use a drop-down, we have a drop-down here as well that will let you pick. Now, the drop-down changes color based on whether or not a match is completed. So there was a question earlier about, does the auto advance use the completed matches or the time? It uses completed matches. And you'll see here as matches evolve, the coloration it'll add more green as you complete matches. So if a match is completed, then it will color it green. If it hasn't completed, it will be white in this drop-down. Somebody is building their robot right now, I think. Oh yeah, your drop-down is stuck on final 2, David, because you need to Disable auto advance. That's why. Disable auto advance so that you can play with this. Auto advance, that's why it could be annoying. That's the thing. So back to announce. What have we got? So let's pretend that we're announcing something and we have an MC out there, and the MC goes, she says, and on in the Red Alliance, starting out team 1073. Now we have to decide what to say. You have a lot of stuff that you can say. If this is the first time they've been up, you might say, sponsored by BAE Systems, Bose, S&S Machine, and Diamond Casting from Hollis, New Hampshire, it's the Force Team, right? Or from Hollis Brookline High School, the Force Team. Or Hollis, New Hampshire, in their 17th season, it's the Force Team, right? You got all kinds of things that you can say to liven up the announce that are on this screen. And if you want to hide certain things, like, oh, maybe we're done with sponsors. Let's turn off sponsors. Go back to announce, and look, the sponsors are gone. Now it's more compact and easier to see. Make sense? So again, you got a ton of data here that you can use to help liven up. This is the robot name. You see this orange? That's the robot name over there. The number of seasons competing with first is going to change based on what you enter if you make any changes to the years off, right? Ranking will populate after the first match. There's no ranking for the first match, but there will be past the first match. We'll see ranking. Yeah, there we go. Any questions about this? It's pretty easy. It's in the order that it should be seen in the, from where you're sitting. This should be the order that the MC announces the teams based on where they're going to be positioned in on the field and in the driver station. Okay? And if it isn't, we'll fix it. I find it way cool for the MC to have another GA tool. Yeah, that's right. They do. Can I repeat how to remove the sponsor information? Sure, Eric, it's easy. In Setup, this button right here, or the switch that says Show Sponsors on Announce, I've just turned it back on. So if we quick look, my sponsors are there. Go back to Setup. If I click on it, then I'll turn it off. We'll also turn off awards so we can really see the difference, okay? So Show Sponsors and Show Awards are now off. I go back to Announce. Now I don't even have awards. Cool. But we haven't lost the data. It's just not showing on this screen. All right. Let's see. I think this will do something. No, it won't. All right. Now we'll go to play-by-play. So you make your announce. The order of operations is you announce the teams. MC comes off the field. You switch to play-by-play. Now we are looking at kind of the fundamental data that you need to kind of talk about the match as it evolves. You've got the team number, you've got the name and the town, you've got the team, well, the organization, you've got the name, the robot, and then how are they doing? This is going to tell you about how they're doing. Now, at the moment, we don't see anything because this is match number 1. If we move to match number 2, now we see a little different, right? So they ended up in rank number 2. But this rank will be updating all the time. So you'll know the rank, you'll know the rank points, you know the qual average, what's their record, what is their high score, what match were they in when they got it. This will change match over match. You also have down at the bottom for the current event high score, which is handy. All right, so you've got a lot of information here to help you tell the story of what's going on the field. Now, let's go back for a moment because there's something that happens from time to time. You may have to do a robot substitution. If you tap on a team number, let's make sure I get this right. It's over here, I think. Tap on a team number. Oh, it's not going to do it. Should be doing. Oh, we can't do substitution here. In the playoffs, you can do substitution. So we'll go to playoffs in a second. All right, back to play-by-play. If you tap on the high score down here, it will update the rankings. And this is kind of a hidden button. The reason that's important is if you're going along and you realize that you might be behind in the current rankings because FMS is out of date or hasn't updated yet, then you can just tap that right down here and it will up. You saw these lights flash. It went and pulled the rankings and it will adjust these on the fly. And that happens a lot where you've got a real fast MC. They want to get ahead, so they're trying to do their announcing ahead of the match. And so we may end up getting ahead of the pushing, the publishing from FMS. So just pay attention to that. The other thing that you have here at the top, which I don't think anybody uses, but I'm going to call it out because it's there, it's a match timer. If you can't see the clock, then you can use this thing as a match timer. If you tap it when the match starts, it will count down. So it's counting down right now. In the auto, we call it Sandstorm this year, but I haven't changed it to Sandstorm. So we'll see it change color, and then I'm going to give up on it. So now I'm done with auto. Now we're in teleop. And if we come back to this in 2 minutes, you'll see that it will change because it will go into endgame mode. Okay? So that's what it's going to do. Let's move ahead. In fact, we'll shut this off. If you tap on it, it will turn off the timer. I want to move ahead to a quarterfinal match. So now we're in a quarterfinal match. You see that things have changed in the announce screen. One, now it says qual seed over on the right, where before it said ranking, a little bit different. On the left, you know which alliance the team is and what selection a given team was in that alliance. So alliances are of 3. In first champs, they're alliances of 4. And you'll see 4 teams listed here if you're at champs. But for normal operations, you'll see 3. If you need to make a substitution, tap on the team number. So I just tapped on 246. This works because I'm in a quarterfinal situation. Oh, now I have to go and bring in another team. Oh, gee, what team might I bring in? 9999, I think, is a team that is in it, so I'll say make it so. Oh, he's not in the event. Sorry. I have to take a guess as to a team that's, quick, steal the ranks because it's probably one of these. All right. No, 246. Are they in it? We'll pick 2-4. I think everybody ended up in the playoffs, so it's this is not a great example. But you pick a team, you enter a number, and it will tell you whether or not that team is in the event. If they're not in the event, then it will say, hey, you need to pick another team number. 190 is in the event, so you'll see that now it's switched to 190 here and told us 190's information. So look at the numbers on the driver stations before you announce, particularly when you get into the playoffs, so that you'll know whether or not there's been a substitution. You can quick enter the substitution, and then you'll have the right data here. And then when you move over to play-by-play, you'll see that 190 is also in it. Oh, 19999 is in there. All right. Everybody get that? Makes sense? You can also do the substitution here. So if I want to substitute for 190, you know, it's supposed to be 246, right? It knows it's 246 substitution. I'd put in another one if they broke down somehow between announcing the teams and going to play-by-play. Probably not likely. All right. Any questions about those 2 screens? All right, so VIMS, is it up to date for awards? On my bot info sheet, I asked the teams for that info. That's a good idea, but VIMS is reliable because it isn't really VIMS. It's first, yeah, it's the thing that sits behind first, okay? So it knows all the awards, and it will keep them up to date during the course of the event. Well, after the event. They don't get recorded until after the event. So between week 1 and week 2, there will be teams who will be Chairman's Award winners for 2019. There will be event winners. There will be well, won't be Woody Flowers Award winners, but there will be other awards. The coding, the Autonomous Coding Award will be one of the awards that will be in this thing. And then they will show up in the list. So if I go back and I turn on awards, then they'll start to see 2019 awards after week 1. They will be in the list. Green ones are finalists and winners. You can see district event finalist, district event finalist. We'll move ahead one more. This one was somebody who won an event. Here's somebody who was on Carson as a subdivision finalist, and so on. You'll also see Hall of Fame teams. So if we can get to 190, we'll see an example. Well, they won a championship. I don't know if they're Hall of Fame. They did win a championship a long time ago. Are they not here? They are in this somewhere. Well, I thought they were here. Maybe they didn't get in the schedule. Doesn't really matter. But yeah, you'll see some special highlights. We can see that if we go to another event. You can see some of the special highlighting for Hall of Fame teams. Okay. Oh, I see the problem. Let's go this way. There's 190. They won Rack and Roll. See that? 2007 Rack and Roll winner. So you'll know that if they're getting that high level of competition, having won a championship, you're going to see that. And it will also indicate the year. Now that we have Houston and Detroit and Houston and St. Louis, it will also tell you that. Green are yes, Chairman Award winners, absolutely. So you can see, do I have one here? I don't have one here, but maybe we can find one on the next screen. I know there's a Chairman's Award right there. So 2017, Andromeda won. They won a Chairman's Award, an EI. They won another EI, well, EI, both, and then they were, these guys are great. They just cranking it up. And then they won EI again in 2018. So, yeah, you'll see that as well. So chairmans in EI are green. Win an event, it's green. Finalists at an event, it's green. So those are the ones you call out. You know, they'll jump right out at you. All right. Any other questions before we move on to looking at these sections over here? Which is in the setup screen? Yeah, that's right. Does that substitution carry over the rest of the playoff? No. Great question, Ken. The substitution that you make is just for that match, because when you move to the next, FMS will update. So when they publish the score from that match, the substitution will propagate to all future matches for you, which is pretty handy. So it will do that on your behalf, which is great. Okay, let's take a look at stats. There was a question about, do we know world high scores? Well, we do know world high scores, and we're tracking those. We have a little worker that runs in the background, and it updates every, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes, and it will pull all the results for all events that are first regular season events, and it will post the top scores here. There are 6 categories. Qualification matches with no fouls are recorded. We have qualification matches with offsetting penalties, and this one, we track this a little bit differently than TBA does, but we wanted to show, you know, with offsetting penalties, the score might be higher, but there's no advantage from penalties. And then on the bottom one, there could be advantages from penalties. So this is for the world, and then this is for the event. Since there's been exactly one event, these two are the same. As we move along, this will change. And it's kind of cool to watch the world high scores have different events for the playoff and qualification scores as they show up. So check this from time to time. If you think that you're getting a match that looks like it might be heading into high score range, you've got a reference right here that you can peek at. when you are announcing matches, sometimes your MC doesn't remember what match you're on. MC numbers has the current match. Pretty easy. It has some interesting information as you get into some of these quarterfinal, semifinal matches. So we'll pick quarterfinal 4, and we'll look at that. Quarterfinal 4, we're in quarterfinal 4, match 1. 3 is the Red Alliance, 6 is the Blue Alliance. Easy, right? All your MCs can understand this, we hope. Now, this means you might want to have an iPad with just has this on it, or a screen that they can see, and then another one that has the your other the work that you're going to, the device that you're going to carry and you're going to work with. Maybe they should have their own. That could also be helpful. If we switch back now and go to quarterfinal 5, see what happened here? This is quarterfinal 1, match 2 is what we're in, even though it's called quarterfinal 5. This is the still quarterfinal pairing 1, match number 2. Red has the advantage. So if red wins, they move on to the next round. If blue wins, we go to the tiebreaker. Quarterfinal 1, match 2, red has the advantage. Giant red on top. Red is 1, 8 is blue. Make sense? That's how that's going to work. Okay. I don't know if we have a tiebreaker in there. We'll just show you what that looks like. I think we do. So it's a tiebreaker. If we go to there, it says tiebreaker 2, 4 versus 5. So again, this is to help your MC if they can't remember what match we're on. I know sometimes I work with some folks who don't always remember the matches. Great otherwise. Cheat sheet we looked at. Now, look at these two right here, Alliance Selection and Awards. Already your eyes are bugging out of your head, and that is okay. Alliance Selection is one of the most challenging things that we do, that we try to manage, I think. I know that when I first started doing this game announcing thing, and I've emceed some events, this has been the hardest thing, not only for us, but also for the students. So what we tried to do is to build a tool that can help with that selection. And it works like this. First thing, look at the color of this bar right here. This bar is your friend in that it's going to tell you whether or not the GA tool believes that the rankings data is current and that the order is correct in terms of which alliance is which. If it's red, tap this again and it will load. You can see ranks just lit up. It went and fetched the ranking. So you can tap this until you see green, and then you should be good to go. There is a risk, and it is a very real risk, as we found out a couple of events last year, that if you go off and try to do alliance selection before you have the ranks correct, that the order of the captains may be wrong, and you don't want that. And what happens is that down here in the other teams, right, so you can see this list right here, Alliance 1 through Alliance 8, everybody's clear on that. This is team rank 9, that's rank 10, rank 11, rank 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Okay, that's what's there right now. And as we use up teams and put them into alliances, teams will flow into this. And this is important because this is the one who's going to go into Alliance 8 if 509 gets picked. This one is going to move in if 190 gets picked after that, and so on. So it's really important that we have green before we proceed with alliance selection. So how does it work? I am now going to make a first choice. So Alliance Captain 1, if you're unfamiliar with how alliance selection works, gets to pick a team to be their alliance partner. They can pick anybody, which is great. So let's say they pick 58. I don't know that they actually did it, but this is an example. They pick 58. So you tap on 58 and wait. Now, you may be announcing the teams. This is typically what happens. So we pick 58. You'd say, Team 58, the Riot Crew, is from South Portland, Maine. Great. Or Team 58, the Riot Crew, is from South Portland High School in South Portland, Maine. Or whatever you say to let the world know that this is Team 58. They have three choices. Well, they have two choices at this point. They can respectfully decline, at which point what? The Team 1 has to make another choice. They can gratefully accept, which would be great. Then 58 moves into this spot. Everybody else moves down, and 190 comes over here. That's what we're going to pretend happened. If you just hit Alliance Captain Announce, nothing happens. So initially, when you're announcing the teams, your number 8 Alliance, 509. 509 Red Storm from Bedford High School in Bedford, New Hampshire. Alliance Captain Announce, done, right? 1517 is the Lumberjacks from Bishop Brady High School in Concord, New Hampshire. So on. So now I've got everybody announced. I make a choice. We'll pick 58. We will accept 58. Are you sure? Yes. Okay. See what happened? 58 is now the first choice alliance, or the Alliance 1 first choice. And now we move to Alliance 2. Alliance 2 is about to make a first choice. If you did the wrong number, hit the undo button. It goes back. We'll set it back to 58. Note that 190 is now over here. 7314 is now at the top of the list. 501 has come in to fill this spot. Now the pink area is all the remaining teams who haven't been picked. The green area are the next 8 in ranking. They're duplicated. 7314, 811. See, they're in there, right? So they're duplicated. We did this for a reason, because when you get to the end of Alliance selection, you want to make sure that you know who the next teams are in ranking, so that if you have to call them up, you can do that. Good night, Zeke. My son Zeke here, he's going to replace me one day. I'm really excited about that. Okay, so let's make another choice. Let's say they pick 1729. They can tap on it here, or they can tap over here. It doesn't matter. We'll accept it. Boom. Yes. So now they're in there. Now let's say we pick 509. We'll pull another team out. Yes, yes. See how that's moved in? Everybody's advanced, and so on. Oh, if you made the wrong one, you can undo, and you can keep undoing all the way back. So we tried to make this as bulletproof as it could be for running through Alliance selection. And we'll just put up a bunch of teams. In fact, it also does enter. We'll accept. I'm just picking the top teams out, and we're filling this in so you can see it go around. You can see teams disappearing over here in the pink. And this is going to lead to some problems in undefined, because there is nobody left beyond the top 7 right now. All right. So you can see how this is filling in, and it's following the order that we use on the field. Now, my screen is compact. Normally I have a bigger screen, but I wanted to make sure we could do the screen share. This should fit on a portrait mode screen. It definitely fits on a portrait iPad for most applications as you fill it in. Do I need to fill in any more, or are we all comfortable with what this is going to do? I want you to notice something. This event happened, right? This event already happened. So this screen isn't telling you the actual alliance selection. This is a tool to help drive alliance selection in that moment. Once alliance selection is done, this tool is functionally useless for alliance selection. Because alliance selection happened, you have a schedule, and everybody knows who the alliances are. Does that make sense? Bill, alliance selection is way hard. Do it with 2 people. You got it. One on the microphone, one on the computer. That's a really good deal. If you can do it, always ask for a printed ranking report. Yes, definitely do that. Eric says he likes to conduct GA tool alliance selection in real time. Got it? Don't click accept or decline until you have verbal confirmation. Yeah, exactly. That's what I do. I don't. I wait. Because sometimes they say no, and you're like, what? Okay. And they often have a good reason to do it, but sometimes it's a surprise. Okay, so that gets us to alliance selection, which you can use this tool to run. If you want to do it on paper the old-fashioned way, go ahead and do it on paper the old-fashioned way. It just can be difficult to keep track of where they are and to also get the information about the team. So I think that this is it's a very useful tool for driving alliance selection and keeping it consistent. And giving you, so you're not messing around with papers trying to figure out, oh, which team is this and where are they from and so on. Just make it crazy simple. Now the same thing applies. Are there any other questions about alliance selection before we look at the last screen, which is awards? Looks like Eric is typing. Okay, I'll get back to that, Eric. All right, so let's look at awards. We get to the end. We finished our play. We are down here at final 2, and everything is great, and blue won, and rah-rah. Time to go to awards. Now, sometimes your event people will tell you the awards ahead of time, and you can prepare. Sometimes they give you no warning whatsoever, and your MC is the only person who has that sheet of paper that has the awards on it. So that is rough. It's certainly hard on you if you have to try and announce award winners during the course of the award ceremony. So what this will do is provide you a quick view of all the teams that are at the event. It is sorted numerically from low number in the upper left to high number in the bottom right, and you can make it a little bit smaller if it makes it easier to see. All right, you can do that. And then let's say that 3986 won an award. Great team. 3986 Expresso is from École Secondaire Saint-Laurent in Saint-Laurent, Quebec. Founded in 2012. This is their 8th season competing with First. Congratulations. Done. Super easy. And you will hear this pattern over and over and over in events. So if you listen to events to prepare for your event, and you stay through awards, you will hear that pattern over and over and over. Team 811 Cardinals is from Bishop Garton High School in Nashua, New Hampshire. And depending on how far away the team is, you can spread that out a little bit, just to give them something to do while they're walking on. Now, Blair will say, he's not on the phone right now, and Blair, as you listen to the recording, this is an apology to you, but it's a disagreement that I have. Blair will say, let the music bring the team in. Let them enjoy their moment. Totally get it, but at the same time, sometimes the music isn't on. Sometimes the music doesn't quite align with what's happening, or it's a very long distance from the upper reaches of the arena where the team happens to be sitting. So use this time. If you have some things to say, it is relevant. When you're done, congratulations. Thank you very much. And that, my friends, is gatool. As I said before, you all have access to it. I encourage you to use it. It will work on an iPad. It will work on an Android device. It will work on a laptop. It'll work on a desktop computer. You can have it on multiple devices. Just have to log in as you, and you're good to go. We think that this is it's a great way to help drive consistency from event to event. Makes you look fantastic when you have all this information at your fingertips, and hopefully makes it, you don't have to do a lot of work ahead of time. We do ask that you do go and do the pit walk. Please do that. Really important to do that, so that we have good data. Now we're going to, I guess good things are happening there. We will continue to make adjustments to gatool over the course of the year. In fact, today we put in the week filters, so that was done this afternoon. We will continue to work on, down here, the offline mode. Someone's eating potato chips now. We'll continue to work on offline mode to make that functional for those cases where there is no internet. We know that that does happen from time to time. It's rare, but it does happen. In those cases, what you will be able to do is enable offline mode. Now, I know this doesn't work, and in fact, I don't think it will show me what I want to see. No, it's not going to do it. It will later, but what will happen is this will change. Oh, sorry. Schedule. You see right here it says load qual schedule. So when I turned on offline mode, it enables in the schedule 2 buttons, load qual schedule, load playoff schedule. You can get a schedule report from the Scorpion, from FMS, put it on the thumb drive, and then load it directly. If you load a qualification schedule directly, what will happen, hopefully by the end of next week, is that it will build the schedule. So it will pull the schedule off that Excel spreadsheet. You want it as an Excel spreadsheet. And it will figure out what all the teams are that are competing in the event, and it will populate the team list based on what it learned from that Excel file. So you will not get real-time scoring. You will not get statistics, but you will be able to announce your teams in order. You will be able to do that if you're offline. That will also help with off-season events that are offline as we get into the summertime. All right, any other questions before we wrap it up? Looks like I make us sound, that's right. You got that right, Bill. We all have the face for radio. An excellent resource for off-season events. That's what we're hoping for. Yeah, totally talk to your FTA, the Wi-Fi, and internet access. Go the night before. That way you know that you will have what you need, and you'll be able to proceed. I know that I have, in a pinch, used my cell phone with my iPad, and it's been okay. Just going to keep it quiet. They don't like it, but it's doable. Let me show you, while we have a minute or two, I want to show you what happens when we look at previous years, because there's a lot more data in previous years if I switched out of offline modes. Let's do that, and now it's going to load. So if I pick, let's say, a Houston Champs, and you can see I can now pick one. So how about Carver? We'll pick Carver. It's going to load up Carver from 2018, and you can see all the green lights are slowly flashing, and it finally has loaded up all of Carver, which is great. The reason I wanted to do that is because it is a championship event, and it does behave a little bit differently for championship events, so we'll widen this up, and we'll go and take a look at announce. And what I want to do is go down. You see a lot of green and a lot of matches. It goes and goes and goes. Look, it's a championship event, so look what we have. We have the Hall of Fame, right? Steamworks Houston winner, Steamworks Houston winner. They were playing against each other in match number 1. That's kind of cool. So we get down into the quarterfinals, and I just wanted to show you when we switch to quarterfinals, now I have 1, 2, 3, 4 teams that are there, 4 in that situation, right? And then when you move to play-by-play, you also have all 4 teams, but the order, the top 3 teams are the ones that should be on the field. The bottom one is the one that isn't on the field. So if you have to reorder them, you might tap on this one and say, oh yeah, this one's 3192. All right, how about 3132? That would be better. Right, so 3132. We did this a lot. And then this one would be whatever the one we replaced over there, like 250. I guess it's not it. Well, we'll have to remember. It's this one. It's a 342, right? So I have to call this 342. So now I know that they're able to make substitutions on the fly, right? And the 3 teams that are playing, you just want to make sure that you get them there, or leave it alone. Doesn't matter. They're all in front of you. You have it all there, but you can choose to reorganize them if you want to. So that's just an extra bonus. And then looking over here in the stats, you can see that for the world high scores for 2018, Colorado Regional, First Champs Detroit, Silicon Valley Regional, Pine Tree event. Really? I was there. Didn't know. Oh, yeah. Oh, that was crazy. And then Houston and that one there, Indiana. So it's kind of neat to see that the different the different types of high scores are recorded around the world, and they're presented there for us. So cool. If you have feedback, please give it to us. There's a form that you'll see every week that comes to you. It's at the bottom of the email. If there's things that you want, tell us about it. The addition of the weeks came from a request from last year, and then the addition of the years not competing, that came from a request this week. So if you ask, there's a pretty good chance that we will give it to you. Make sense? Oh, great. Bill's got a great best practice piece over there, which is check the pronunciations and don't be afraid to type in pronunciations for teams. So if I switch, I'll pick Houston. There's probably a ton of teams on here that's got, for me, crazy pronunciations. So, oh, Hilo. Oh, yeah, I was there. Maybe not. Vancouver, Washington. Where's all the foreign teams? Ah, there's one. X-Shark. How do you say Czech McCoy? I don't know, but you probably would want to put in a spelling, right? So then if I hit done, I'm not going to hit save, but this will tell me if I see them in a match. I now know how to say that. So I will actually go through and I will ask each team to pronounce their name if it's not something that I recognize. And I'll make a note so I know. Write down those pronunciations, though. If you've got an odd pronunciation, that's something that will be helpful going forward for other GAs. In fact, I should just load this up just to see what happens. I'll do it now. Team data has gone red because it's still loading. Now it's done. If I switch back, you'll see lots of changes. Right? That's because Bill was working at this event, and he's very good about going and recording information as he meets the teams. So, cool. All right, I am now going to end my screen share, and I think it's also time to end the call. So thanks very much for joining us. I will send out the recording link to the group. Have a great week one. Those of you who are going to compete or work week one, really looking forward to having your feedback next week on Blair's call.